You're not
I
in
don't know.
debt until like it's there and you have to pay for it.
I know, but I'd rather just pay for it and then it'd be already done, and I don't have to worry about it in August. And then when you're like, "Yo, your figure's here," and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Wicked," and I can just go and pick it up,
Yeah. All right.
and then not have to like pay for it.
No, you
And
like
then
having.
and my wife, when she's like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "I got this like 2 years ago."
You could do installments. You could do $5 a week.
It cost me more in transfer fees to do that.
Yeah. Oh man, have you ever went to those websites? You guys in the chat, what's up? And it's like 20 easy payments of like $295 or some
Right.
really bizarre number. You're like, I don't know if anyone should be purchasing this if they're looking at this, like $2, $11 a month option. But
Yeah.
if it's there, why not? I guess if it's
Yeah.
interest free, take it. But it's just funny.
Hey,
What's
John.
up? Hey, what's up, Mr. Rob? I see
Hey.
Lewis. I see Sarah. I see Fraser. I see Billy. I see
Wow,
Jimmy.
it's like romper room.
I see Mikey.
Yeah.
I was sitting there. I was always sitting there listening for my name. And
Yeah.
my name's like super common now, but I feel like I
Right.
never heard it back in the day.
No, they didn't say my name either.
It was always somebody else. So what's up, folks? It is Monday. We're still in February, right? February 27th.
We have one more day of February.
Yeah, crazy. I forgot about the short month. A bunch of stuff was due, and I missed some deadlines, so I had to do some catch up. I'm totally going off on a tangent. I don't know what else we can talk about this tangent like.
Well, you know what? Hey, thanks everybody for joining us on the Sidekick Show. If you happen to be stumbling onto the channel being like, what the hell is this? The guy over here is named John, and he's a co-owner of Heroes World comic shop out in Markham. I'm his Caucasian hetero life mate, Rob, and we are doing the Sidekick Show every Monday night live, 8:15 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, maybe Twitter. I'm not sure where John put it up today. But yes, you can definitely join us and also hit the subscription and notification bells, because we also have the Heroes World podcast where we talk about lots of stuff. And so we have a lot of friends in the chat. So whether you're listening to us live or after the fact, whether it's on Apple or Amazon or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, that's the rundown of the show. And that's it. We're done. So that was easy. That's what are we at, John? 4 minutes, 2.5.
That's the end.
And we're out for the day. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bake them away, toys.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So there we are. So actually, when people just started tuning in, if you're wondering what John and I were talking about, actually we'll say that because John, you're going to show it later.
Yeah.
But in today's show, we're going to do a rundown of the news. John's going to tell us what's new in the shop. I want to say, hey man, how was your weekend, and see what you've been up to in the past few days. And then we're going to talk about Unstoppable, our movie of the week, 2010's Unstoppable, with Chris Pine and Denzel Washington.
There's one later on, right? There's like a 2018, I guess it's just a common phrase.
What's that?
Unstoppable.
No, it's part of the English vernacular, John. And it's been there.
I mean, I guess it's a cool thing to have as a title for something. I feel like there's a bunch of songs called Unstoppable, and then there's this movie, and I feel like there's a couple other. I feel like there's another later movie. When I tried to look it up, I was like, what the hell? They made another Unstoppable? I don't know what you do when you have a name for a movie and then some other movies come out previously. I guess you have to rename your movie, right? Because it's rare that we see a lot of movies by the same title, right?
Yeah, but you would be like still Unstoppable. It's like the Never-Ending Story Part 2. It's still
Unstoppable with a question mark,
right? Yeah,
Unstoppable with an exclamation mark, Unstoppable with a little underscore. But yeah. All right, so Rob, let's kick this off. You guys in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. We want to know how was your weekend? Any crazy things that came out that you checked out? Any shows that you're continuing to watch? Maybe you're still watching Last of Us. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you gave up on that show. I don't know what's going on. But look at Rob's surprise. But let me start with my buddy here, Rob, because it feels like it's been a minute. I haven't seen you since last week. It's crazy. How was your weekend, dude?
Yeah, it was good, man. Did a little bit of reading. Some months ago, I picked up from the shop the Gideon Falls Omnibus #1, I think, from you guys, and I've cracked that, so I'm halfway through reading that. God, it's such a good story, eh? Like Jeff Lemire just hit it out of the park with pencils by Andrea Sorrentino. Just absolutely phenomenal. Like I was collecting all the issues. I got all the floppies when they were coming out on a monthly basis, but reading it in a collected, just going through, it's just so good. So I would highly recommend people, because I know you guys still had some copies when I was there 2 weeks ago. Definitely check it out because it's so good. But John, I'm trying to think. Like I watched a few. I haven't started up any TV shows per se. I finished off Clarkson's Farm season 2 on Amazon Prime.
Oh, Jeremy Clarkson, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's funny, man. And I know that guy can be embroiled in controversy or whatever, but man, that show is funny. But since last Monday, John,
yeah,
I have watched. Are you ready?
Okay.
The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, and I've just started A View to a Kill. So I've seen about, and I might have actually watched Man with a Golden Gun, but I don't remember if I saw that before last week's episode. So I've watched like 4 to 5 James Bond movies this past week.
Oh man, so you're in a Bond tear, even though we got Mission Impossible coming up next week. You're like, let me crank out those Bonds. Do you usually do this once a year? Are you that big of a Bond fan? I don't remember if you do it every year.
Well, no, not every year, every couple of years. But it's just one of those things where it's like these ones, like like the Roger Moore ones, I could put them on the background while I'm working and just, I mean, I've seen them so many times. Like I know what happens. I know when to stop. Like my son came downstairs and at one point he goes, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "Oh, it's The Spy Who Loved Me." And he's like, "Oh, it looks really old. Is it a James Bond movie?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Check out this Lotus Esprit." And I was like, first of all, I thought John's be happy because I knew the name of the car. I was like, look, it turns into a sub.
Yeah. What year was it?
The Spy Who Loved Me was 77.
I mean, the Lotus.
It was a 76 Lotus.
Oh, I'm very, very impressed, unless you just made that up.
I did make it up.
Okay, I don't follow Submarine Lotuses, so I don't know what year that was either.
I think it was just made for the movie. But yeah, so that was my weekend, John. Just been doing a lot of that, and then watching our movie of the week, this Ensemble. But what about you, my friend? What did you get up to?
Yeah. Let me go to the comments.
Oh yeah, wait, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think that was last week.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it because there's a bunch of comments that are relevant to it. So if you didn't watch the Heroes World podcast, Rob, Stu, and myself did give our review for Ant-Man Quantumania. And now we've got Sarah's review, which is Ant-Man sucked. Unless you meant Ant-Man 1. Rob, you've talked to people since we've watched it. What's the general consensus? I feel like you were in this camp of Ant-Man sucked, right? Quote unquote. Like, or in this side of the spectrum. Right. I've talked to a couple people at the shop, and I've got mostly people liked it for what it just for the fun of it.
Okay.
But I can totally see the angle. I think Scott watched it and he said he wasn't too happy about it. But Rob, what are you generally hearing on the streets?
Not good things.
No.
It's just forgettable. Like I think people just let down by it, right? I think the hype of the kicking off Phase 6, King, everybody kind of unanimously agrees that I can't remember the name of the actor all of a sudden now. The guy who played Kang.
Jonathan Majors. Yeah.
Thanks. Jonathan Majors is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are just really surprised at the level of CGI. And then you start seeing these news stories about, the CGI teams were pulled off of Ant-Man to finish up on Wakanda Forever. And it's just, there's been in the last few years, there's been a really interesting narrative and a theme going on about a lot of these VFX houses and artists really slagging Marvel and their business practices their level of demanding of output and whatnot, and then it's just not attainable for some of the stuff. So maybe we're starting to see that. And again, we talked about this last week, I think, John, when Kevin Feige said he's they're kind of slowing down production. Hopefully that is a good thing overall. The quality gets better. We don't need vast amount of quantity. Just give us the quality, right? So.
Yeah. I have a friend in the industry, and the conditions that they have to work under is pretty bad. It's almost like a slave labor situation. So I hope that gets improved. I don't know. Maybe I didn't see it on a good screen. I didn't really have any issues with the CG other than the Bodok face, which looked ridiculous. I feel like I should just grab a magnifying glass and just hold it here, and then that would be the same effect. But yeah, again, Jonathan Majors for sure. No one disputes that he was amazing in the movie. So interesting to hear that. I did watch. Did you watch that pitch meeting gag that they always do on YouTube? The guy was like, "Oh, we got a movie," and then he runs through the pitch.
No.
Yeah, I've binged all of their Marvel ones lately, and they hit the nail on the head for like every single one of them. And I don't know if I'm just blinded when I go to the movie. You go with your friend or your buddy or your kids or whatever, and you have your popcorn. You just go to have fun. But then when you think about it, there's a lot of questions, especially with this movie. So we'll leave that. If you haven't checked out a review, check out a review, and then we'll have to go. We'll have to maybe touch base with it again. But I don't know. Do you think you're going to watch it again anytime soon?
No. Anytime soon? No.
Listen,
I still haven't even
like
seen
45 days. If it drops on Disney Plus, you are just scrolling past it.
No, you know what? Maybe one of those like really rainy July days where like you can't be out in the pool, so I'll throw it on maybe.
Yeah.
But even then, there's so much. This is the problem, John. Is that there's just so much to watch. Today we got a trailer for Ted Lasso season 3.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh man, I want to go back and watch season 1 and 2 again, but I don't have the time. Like there's just, and I know listen, this is a first world problem. It's a privileged problem that I have so many streaming services to be able to watch all this shit on. But the problem is I don't have the time to go back to some of my favorite shows and rewatch them because I feel like I have a list just pounding me of things I got to watch, man.
Yeah, there's no shortage of content, and Ted Lasso 100% is worth the rewatch for you, Rob. So, and that's one of the fun shows. Since you've already watched it, you can just turn it on in the background and just enjoy it. But yeah, that season 3 trailer looks pretty good. I don't want to watch too much of it because I'm worried about things getting spoiled.
Yeah, you don't. There's nothing said really during the trailer. It's just a lot of scenes of people walking.
Yeah. It was mostly just music and short clips.
Name that band, John. Name the band. What was the band that was playing in the trailer?
I don't know. I already forgot.
Seriously?
No, here. I don't know. What?
The Rolling Stones.
Oh, okay. You can't always get what you want, right?
Right.
Yeah. I forgot what music was playing. I know who they are.
Do you?
I do. I love Beast of Burden. That's probably my favorite song. But anyway,
that's like one of their slowest songs. That's your favorite Stone song?
I don't know. I really like Beast of Burden for some reason.
That's like from like their Steel Wheels album, man. That's like from the 80s.
I don't know. I don't know the division of albums. I just know they're the greatest hits. But anyways, Rolling Stones aside.
Okay, how was your weekend?
Other than for me watching Ant-Man as well, which I think was a lot of fun. And I will probably not go back to watch it anytime soon. I did listen to Kelly Slater. I don't know if you're familiar with Kelly Slater, pro surfer. He was on Armchair Expert, so it was pretty cool to hear his story. Surfing, Rob, what are your thoughts on surfing? Have you gone surfing? I
always wanted to surf. I always wanted to try surfing, and I remember like really loving it as a teen. And Kelly Slater, I believe he was on one season of Baywatch. Am I wrong in that?
Yes, he was. Yeah. He was on. I knew it. I think during the interview he says he was on 7 episodes. He didn't know what he was doing. He was only like 20 years old at the time, so it's a really cool interview. He talks about that. This guy is like the definitive surfer, right? There's 11 plus first place finishes, wins, all that kind of stuff. He just dominated the sport. So much so that, and then he had the video game, and he's got his whole wave generator thing. But yeah, I think surfing is. I haven't done it. It's on my bucket list for sure.
Do you think we're too old now, though?
I am concerned. I feel like I'm definitely, if it gets put on my schedule at some point, I feel like I'm gonna have to train to get there.
Yeah.
I saw a meme today when it was like when you hit your 30s or something, and it's like, what have you done to me? And then it's like my knees or something like that. Like your knees just.
Yeah, I don't think we could. we wouldn't do well. We wouldn't do well, John.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that I thought that was a lot of fun to hear his story, and then they do delve into. I like that a lot of these celebrities and famous people are talking about mental health, which I think is a big concern nowadays. So they do delve into that and some other things. So it's a really interesting podcast. If you've never listened to it, Dax Shepard, Armchair Expert, Fraser says his favorite Rolling Stone song is "Paint It Black."
Yeah, Paint It Black. Yeah.
Yeah, Painted Black or Paint It Black, right?
Yeah, Paint It Black. Yeah.
Yeah. See, Rob not only had to say it on the stream, he had to message it on his phone. You're one of those guys that has to be like correct the you are and the your and the
Yeah,
your.
I'm that type of dickhead. That
You could just let it go.
No.
But you have to add that little comment there.
Hey,
But
you know what? I'm going to redeem myself and say
yeah, okay, go
happy
ahead.
birthday to Fraser.
Yes, happy belated birthday, Mr. Fraser. I did see Fraser, Lewis, Scott, and Amanda, and a whole gang of them on Saturday, which is really Sunday. Really cool to see. So I saw Rob the weekend before, and then I saw these guys the weekend afterwards. It's always fun to see everyone kind of hanging out once in a while. So yeah, thank you everybody. So Rob, let's I guess we want to keep it moving. Anybody else with the weekend? Let us know. We'll cycle back if anything. But what's new at Heroes World? I just wanted to bring up one thing, and it was what we were talking about at the beginning and the top of the show. Is the new Hot Toys that's got Rob all flustered.
Yeah,
it's going to be. Shout out to Fraser, who did get his first Hot Toys on the weekend. I guess a late birthday gift to himself. But this is possibly, Rob, your first Hot Toy? If you pull the trigger? Yeah. And we're talking about Batman 89. What a way to start. That would this is your jam, Rob. I feel like anytime they drop something for this guy, I think you picked up the Iron Studio statue.
I did.
And you've gotten a bunch of other merch related to this, probably the Legos and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, the Batman.
I assume you've looked at this. How happy are you with this 89 Hot Toys?
Yeah, really happy. So this is the second issue. This is like a version 2. They had issued one a number of years ago, and I was recently watching some YouTube reviews on it and stuff like that, and it looks really cool. But they've added this some changes to the face molds, and supposedly Hot Toys has gone and they're not just reusing the same stuff that they did for version 1. They've recasted and there are some changes in the suit and whatnot. So, and the cape. I think the cape was a problem with the first version, according to people online, and that this one they've changed the material. So I'm super stoked. Obviously I'm gonna have to get it. I'm gonna have to. Like, I figure if there was ever any Hot Toys I would get, it would be this one, and then it would be the Batman Returns one. Like, if they ever release that one again, because I love those two movies, right? Yeah. But the one thing, it's like I'm gonna have to get it, man.
Yeah, and I feel like you've actually benefited from missing out on the first time because the technology keeps getting better and better on these Hot Toys, the fabrics, the paints, the sculpts, and everything like that. Like this does look like all the faces he makes in the movie. These look like it to me, although I don't watch the movie as much as you do. But I'm pretty sure if you had issues, you would have said, hey, you know what, that doesn't quite look like Keaton.
I think the one on the left, though, like where he's got his lips open, I think like that is best probably to, like, viewed top down. Like, I think looking right
kind of
at
like
it,
he's like looking up.
Like the way it's posted here, it's like he's at a kissing booth. I think
he's like,
if it's a little bit lower,
he's like that smolder. He's like the smolder from Jumanji.
Right. And so if you're like looking at it down, I think that looks a lot better, right? But yeah, man, I just love it.
Yeah. And would anything well, this is the deluxe version, so it's going to come with this base. Do you know the significance of this base, Rob? Is it the clock tower at the end or something like that?
Are you testing me, or do you just not know?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's the top of the clock tower at the end. And in fact, on the bottom left picture, there's a step missing, and that's like where the Joker knocks out the step when Batman's hanging from there. So yes.
Wow, you incredible nerd. We have had no prep for this, and Rob just knew that off the top of his head that there's a random rock that fell out of that base. I pulled this as like a semi joke, but Rob, you nailed it. I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at that. So one time my buddy Pat will come up with the nerdiest like piece of lore information, and I'll be like, I can't even make fun of it. I gotta respect it, Rob. I gotta respect it.
Yeah.
What do you think has to happen for you to pull the trigger on the Batmobile and be able to explain that to your wife? Do you have to win the lottery? Do you have to sell a kidney?
Probably move to a non-extraditing country. Like
you just have to bounce. You just have to leave.
Leave a note and maybe $500 and be like, see you guys when you're older. Because so the problem is that when you're looking at the picture here, like I don't know if people understand what that scale looks like, but the figure itself is I believe it's a 1/6 scale. So you have to know that is, I mean, it's a fairly decent size scale. You have to know that Batmobile, dude, has got to be what, like
Oh,
long.
it would be
Like,
your entire, if you had a decent sized coffee table, it'd be your coffee table.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I've got a random Lego Batmobile here, which is kind of funny. I'm probably gonna drop it Rob style. But
Okay.
this is only like a 1/6 scale, maybe I mean not 1/6, 1/12 scale at the most. So
Right.
that Batmobile is probably gonna be at least double this thing. Lewis, we got to talk about this thing because this thing is just sitting here in my daughter's room. Anyways, I think that's cool. This time around for the Batmobile, they are not including the Shields shell because they had a whole bunch of production quality issues with it the first time around. But if you are interested in this, start saving up now and hit me up. I'm not going to quote any prices right now on the Batmobile because it's going to be in the biggest box. You will have to rent a truck from Home Depot to get this home, where you have to own a minivan. But this is the Batman here. This is the deluxe version. The SRP is going to be $345 USD. So if you are interested, hit me up. It's not out for a while, but you have to get your pre-orders in the next month or so. So you're going to be waiting for this until September 2024, probably. But you have to let wherever you're getting it from. If you're getting it from me, awesome. If you're getting it from somewhere else, you got to kind of let them know in advance. But it looks wild. It's pretty awesome. Like I wouldn't blame you if this is your first Hot Toys, Rob.
Yeah, and I think like they will sell a version without that gargoyle.
Yeah, without the statue, and you'll probably save good $50 probably.
Maybe, I don't even know if it's that much. But you don't have the photo of it. But John, they've also released another photo though showing the Bat computer background.
Yeah, I assume that is an upgrade or a diorama that they might release.
No, apparently it's a set that it is coming soon.
Oh, okay.
And God knows how much that's going to be, right? Because like LED lights behind the computer screens and everything. Like,
it has. I think it has the picture of the Joker and Vicky,
the Joker
Bell
girls
and stuff. Yeah,
love that Joker. Yeah, with the Smilex. Yeah.
and then they're like, all the contaminants are contained within these products. It's like, oh crap, get everything off the shelves, folks.
Yeah.
Shout out to Batman '89.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm you know what, John, just put me down for one of those deluxe editions because I have to get it. So
yeah. All right, we're penciling Rob in. He'll make us like a $5 a week payment plan on that. The cost of one Starbucks coffee, and you can support Rob in his endeavor to
Kickstarter. Go fund me. Help me get my Hot Toys.
Yeah. Fraser said Lewis is at maximum capacity for Legos. Maybe you can hang this from your roof or something, Lewis. I'm just looking for a place to store it.
I gotta say, I'm also a little bit surprised and upset that Gord hasn't clicked in with a Hot Toys joke about something else, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well, we still have that. I don't know if you guys remember throwback, the Robin with the amazing cod piece should be hitting store shelves now. So if you did pre-order that, look forward to getting that in the mail.
That was from Batman Forever.
The Sonar Batman and the I forgot what the Robin is called.
Robin,
hilarious.
Robin
with an exclamation mark. Chris O'Donnell's like got a big grin on his face and going, check me out, ladies. But anyways, that's it. That's all I had for kind of like just things coming out cool at the shop. Hit me up. We are running. What are we running this week, Rob? I am running the One Piece trading card game pre-release event on Saturday. So if you want details on that, hit me up on the socials or check the store page. It'll be updated.
Hey, I have a quick question for you before we move on to the news. How is Superman #1 doing? Because I've heard nothing but amazing reviews.
Yeah, it's selling really well. We had the regular cover, and we also had the cool Phantom Projector green foily cover. We had the Lois Lane first mention of her as the chief of the Daily Planet and stuff. And the book looks amazing. It's a really fun read. People have been picking it up, so I think people are itching for new Superman stuff. So I look forward to seeing what happens with this book.
Yeah. I think, is it issue number 2? Is it the John Boy Myers doing a wraparound cover? I think
he's doing like a big spread cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel Josh Williamson, I think, tweeted out the video, the picture of it. It looks gorgeous. So John Boy Myers, obviously a friend of the shop, right? So
Yeah. Good friend. He sent us a bunch of stuff during the pandemic, which was really nice of him. And we always order whatever covers he drops in. I think we have his latest art book in stock. So if you're looking for some inspiration, drop by and get some art books.
That's right. I remember that during the pandemic, he did the stuff, right? I grabbed a Spider-Man signed by him as well.
He did a bunch of really cool stuff for us. Sent us a box of stuff. So really, really cool dude. So I always love following him on whatever he's doing. Yeah. So Gord said he's too busy eating, Rob. Otherwise, he would have definitely chimed in on your hot toys.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
Hot toys. All right, Rob, let me kick it to you for the news before we get too caught up on something here.
So, John, we're going to kick off tonight's news with an update to a previous news story that we talked about a year ago or so. And that is the Netflix adaptation of Something is Killing the Children. Now, a year or more, it was announced that Boom Studios comic by James Tynion IV had been optioned by Netflix as a series. And then word came that Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass creator Mike Flanagan was going to be overseeing the series. But then Mike Flanagan took off. Netflix last fall, he's handed it over to Amazon. So Something That's Killing the Children was kind of left in limbo until last week when it was announced that Netflix had re-upped the deal with Baron Bo Ador and Yonte Fries, who are the creators of the hit series Dark and the not-so-hit series 1899. Although
was it at least critically acclaimed? Was it critically acclaimed?
It did well, but not as well as Dark. Now, even though it didn't fare as well as Dark, I think that these two are absolutely perfect to take on Something Is Killing the Children. I think if they apply that Dark style of filmmaking, like the small towns, the forests, like everything, if you watch Dark and then you've read like the first half of, or even the first couple of trades of Something That's Killing the Children, you'll be like, oh shit, these guys will totally be able to pull off this style of storytelling with their style of filmmaking. So not that I didn't think Mike Flanagan could have, but I just feel like this is such a great pairing. So I'm super stoked for it. I think James Tynion is exceptionally, he was on social media, really happy about that. It's, that his project is back being developed and that these two from Dark are going to be taking it on. So I know that you didn't see Dark, John, but you are a fan of something.
Knowing that this is a dream team for you, moving on to this book that you are also familiar with. I'm excited for sure. This is Boom Studios' top selling book. They also have Berserk, the Keanu Reeves project, and Once in Future, which is the spin on King Arthur. So they have a lot of like hits that came out and were picked up for something. So I think this is one of the first things that we're seeing coming. A little bit more things attached to it that it's materializing finally. I'm
pretty stoked about that. I mean, and you think about it, listen, he's created this whole world with this story, right? You got the Erica Slaughter. I don't remember the name of her. Slaughter. I don't remember the name of her.
House of Slaughter is another book that runs alongside of it, and they're definitely branching it into a full-fledged universe.
Yeah. So listen, I'm hoping that we get some information by the end of this year as to when. I know it sounds crazy. We're only on the precipice of March, but hopefully by the end of this year we get some information as to when production will start on that series. Speaking of production, John, Production Weekly has confirmed that Matt Reeves' The Batman 2 will start production this November. And as you may remember, it was announced that the Robert Pattinson sequel has release date of October 3rd, 2025. I am super excited for this one. They have already started filming the Penguin series for HBO Max. And now you've got a confirmed production start date of Batman 2. With the understanding that sometimes filming doesn't always start during production. It could just be like they're building sets and whatnot. So filming may not start until the end of this year, maybe beginning of next. But I'm super stoked. I love the Batman movie, man.
Yeah. It's slated for it's advancing up higher on the list of rewatch for me. And I've already seen it twice, which is I think pretty good for a newer modern movie. So I definitely and I'm keeping an eye out for a version to purchase of a steelbook or something drops it in front of me. I'm picking it up. I did enjoy that.
I'm so like enamored with this movie, John. I was even thinking of like, I wonder if they have a Hot Toys off of Pattinson's.
They
Batman.
do,
and they do, and I was like,
it's not out yet, which is kind of weird because the movie was pushed back. We'll probably see it right around the corner. There's multiple versions of that as well too. And I believe there is a version of that Batmobile coming as well in the bike. I think the motorbike or something like that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right.
Slippery slope, folks. Slippery slope.
Yeah. We're gonna move to, this is what drives me kind of crazy though, is that like the Flash movie is coming out in a few months and they're releasing that 89 Batman like a year and a half after it drops, but whatever, I digress.
Yeah.
Let's move to the MCU with the next story, and it was reported last week that Steven Yeun of Walking Dead and Nope fame, as well as an Academy Award nominated actor for Minari, and the voice of Invincible on Amazon Prime, has been cast in an unknown role in the Thunderbolts. According to Deadline, which broke the story, the role will not only be significant for the Thunderbolts movie, but for the MCU in future films. So, John, do you have any guesses as to who Steven will be playing, or maybe hope he'll be playing?
It's attached to Thunderbolts. I don't really have anything that fits into that theme. But they did recently redo Iron Fist as a new character, an Asian character. So I wonder if it's something like that, but I don't know. I don't really have a guess for.
But would Iron Fist, you think, be that significant to the MCU? And some people have speculated Sentry.
Sentry. The role that they were tossing around potentially for Henry Cavill and
right.
If anyone's seen Sentry, I wish I had the figure within reach here. He's a blonde-haired white dude. So it would be crazy casting. I think he does. Steve Yeun, I think he also did a voice on Troll Hunters as well, which is a Caucasian bully type character, which is really funny. So yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of any. Like, I guess the problem is I'm hung up on the fact that they're saying it's a major part that like for future MCU films.
I feel like they say that for everything though.
That's true. Yeah, it could just be
everything. Major part of the MCU for this one season, and then you're never going to see it again.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. All right. Now we could discuss, John, how Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had a 70% drop in the weekend box office over last, but no.
Free falling like Tom Petty.
Huh? Yeah. Hey, there you go, buddy. Instead, we're going to continue tonight's news on what you described last week, John, as the best news you've heard since you read about a Murder, She Wrote reboot. And that is Warner Brothers and New Line Cinemas have announced a new set of movies set in Middle Earth are going to be made. That's right, John. You're excited. We're getting more Lord of the Rings movies. And look, you can't even contain your excitement. You're giddy with excitement, man. This is great for you, buddy. And more extended versions and
more walking around.
Come on, man. I know you're excited. Now, there was some conversation online. Is this too much Lord of the Rings? I mean, Amazon does have this massive
it is.
Rings of Power. However, Amazon doesn't have the rights to a number of characters that could be showcased in these new movies that Warner Brothers would has the rights to, which supposedly they bought from a game company based out of Europe. Some tabletop gaming company purchased the rights to these characters after the movies, and they own the rights. So they had to like essentially license it out from this tabletop company like Aragorn and all these other things. So it's interesting.
Games Workshop does produce a Middle Earth. I think it's being rebranded as Middle Earth. Used to be called Lord of the Rings. So it could be them, or it could be there's Weta Industries or something that does the statues and all that kind of stuff. It could be any number of things. Bizarre.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, are you rushing? Are you rushing to the theater to see more Lord of the Rings, John?
No. So when's it going to take place? Do I now have to watch Lord of the Rings 1, 2, 3, and then is there 3 prequels? Is Hobbit 3 movies?
It should never have been, but it is.
Yeah. And then do I have to then watch Rings of Power? Like it's too much content. I won't consume it. And game. What's it called? The original movies were so huge at the time, and I managed to avoid them forever. So I think I've only seen Fellowship of the Ring. But Rob, are you super excited? I know everyone was super disappointed with the Hobbit.
I hated the Hobbit. I actually really quite enjoy Lord of the Rings. I like the extended editions. Those are the only ones I will watch. I watch them probably once every couple of years because it is like a commitment. I saw them a couple of years ago, and I showed them to my son. He quite enjoyed them. I feel like I feel like I'm due for a rewatch in the next 3 months. I feel like I you know how people who have like arthritis, they can feel when it's going to rain.
Yeah.
Their joints start getting achy. I get that feeling for certain movies and shows. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to be watching this soon. So I have a funny feeling.
Got that hankering for some Lord of the Rings.
Well, I think like we're going to be doing, hey, how was your weekend sometime in June or July? And you're like, dude, I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And you'll be like, oh my God, we talked about this at the end of February. So.
Yeah. I remember hearing about people watching the extended cuts in theater.
Yeah.
Theaters, like 3 movies in a row, which is like a whole weekend's commitment. So all the power to you if that's your thing, but not for me. No, thank you, sir.
Well, this might be your thing, John, because lastly tonight, a shout out to Canadian icon Ryan Reynolds, whose maximum effort will be building a 1.2 million square foot studio right in the backyard of Heroes World in Markham, Ontario, Canada. Now, obviously, this is huge for the province of Ontario and the country, as a studio will be used for movie and TV productions. But this is also huge news for Heroes World co-owner Andre, who broke out his aviation gin bottle and took some shots in celebration of his favorite Canadian actor coming to Markham and possibly bringing some of that Ryan Reynolds charm to the store. So.
Yeah, he was spotted all around town. I got several friends who've, well, not several, like a handful of friends who got to lucky enough to bump into him, take a picture with him, which is pretty cool. So yeah, sure, bring Ryan Reynolds to Markham for sure. He's got a lot of good company here. So.
Hey, you'll have Kamala Khan versus Deadpool in the store. I mean, how do you go wrong with that?
Yeah. We'll see what happens, but yeah.
All right. Well, that, John, is the news, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rob.
But in all seriousness, actually, that is a huge thing. Like I mean, we can go on a tangent about his maximum effort stuff and his production company, but John, he's joined up with Remington Group. The real estate. A lot of those malls are owned by the Remington Group. Across from where I used to work by the by you, that mall, it's all Remington, right? Remington owned properties. He's teamed up with them to put a bid in for the Ottawa Senators, and part of that bid did specify that he would be the kind of like the face of the team and would use maximum effort as part of the marketing. That would be the production for the marketing of the team.
I hope his logo is on the front of the jersey.
Sure, man.
His face.
Yeah, his face. Yeah, drinking aviation gin. But I mean, that's so you can't help but wonder if this kind of makes a lot of sense that we might be talking about co-owner of the Ottawa Senators, Ryan Reynolds, pretty soon. So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, and a hometown hero, right? It'd be nice to bring a big studio here in Markham, or I know there's a lot of studios around, and Vancouver comes to mind, and things like that. So it makes sense. A lot of things being done here in Canada. So bring it on, Mr. Reynolds.
And bring your Mint Mobile up here too while you're at it, because what the hell, we need that shit. All right.
Yeah. All right. New cell phone plans for everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rob. Anything else we need to talk about?
God, Steve. No, it's not. It's gin. It's an aviation gin, not vodka. Come on.
Vodka hits hard, man. But anyway,
gin is good though.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
All right. We'll have to keep an eye out. Maybe we'll do taste testing. But thank you everybody for sticking with us for the news, random store stuff, and how was your week? So do we want to dive into our movie now, Rob? We're running out of time. Yeah. All right. So what did we watch this week, Rob? Because we were on a Tony Scott kick. We watched True Romance, and then it led into this movie, I believe.
No, we're missing Days of Thunder.
Oh, Days of Thunder. But we did watch True Romance, right?
Yeah, it started off with True Romance for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, no, the link was True Romance into Days of Thunder, into Unstoppable, and we'll probably continue the Tony Scott train later on in the month of March, I believe, right? Or something like that. I don't know what the
No, we're not doing that at all.
No? That wasn't the Equalizer plan? No?
No, yes, but he didn't do Equalizer, man.
That's but he does Man on Fire. I thought that was the Showdown. Equalizer.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're doing Denzel. Yes, you're right. Okay. Let's talk Unstoppable, folks. Now, this movie is based on a real-life incident, John. Unstoppable was released on November the 12th, 2010, and would mark the last movie that acclaimed director Tony Scott would direct before his passing in 2012. Starring Denzel Washington, Chris Pine, and Rosario Dawson, the movie had a budget of about $90 million and brought in $168 million at the box office, Filming took place in over a dozen areas throughout Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, and New York during the daytime, using rail lines that were used for freight transportation in the evenings. Now, here's your Canadian connection, folks. Some of the trains used were borrowed from the Canadian Pacific Railway. Unstoppable was nominated for Oscar for Best Sound Editing, but it did lose out to Inception that year. The movie was met with some decent critical responses upon its release. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, the movie holds an 87% critics rating and a 72% audience score. There are huge fans of this movie. Christopher Nolan, the director of Inception, he has gone on record saying that the tension that is made in this movie is what helped him in the tension for Dunkirk. Quentin Tarantino is a huge fan and apparently just recently posted on a podcast that he considers this one of the better action movies of the last decade or so. This is, I think, where John kind of got this idea to watch this. So, John, are you hopping aboard this train ride, or do you prefer Thomas the Tank Engine as your motor train?
Thomas the Tank Engine, I've always found creepy as hell, especially that mean-looking train called Gordon or whatever. It's really creepy to have.
We know,
unassociated with that Gordon.
Yeah, the Gordon that we know, Thomas the Tank, the Bare Naked Ladies album. Every Gordon is just
right. Gordon Ramsay, yeah.
Yeah, Grumpy. There we go. Another
it's
one.
Rubbish. All right, Unstoppable, fantastic ride. Man, this is a fun movie, I think, Rob, right? I don't know if it is going to end up being the best of the Tony Scott movies, but it was a high note for him to go out on it, and it kind of leaves you wondering what would have came after this, what he got to. But overall, I still love this movie. Sometimes you're worried that these movies, once you kind of know the outcome and you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, it's not as intense. But I feel like this is still like you could stand up watching this almost like you're watching it on the news. Like I had it on my TV in the kitchen, and I was kind of like standing up for the whole last half of the movie. I was just like standing up watching it like I was watching like events unfold on the news. But thank God it's a fictional, well, based on a true story, but exaggerated, sure. I believe. But I think it's still great. Rob, how do you feel about this movie? Watching it again in 2020.
Well, so when you
2023, we are. Sorry.
When you mentioned this movie, I was like, "What?" I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then
you couldn't really remember it when we mentioned it.
Right, I forgot that I had seen it, and so I was like, "Oh, I saw the poster for it." I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." I actually quite enjoyed rewatching this movie again. Like a lot of these movies, if I haven't seen in a long time, watch them, like, whatever. Because I had kind of forgotten about this, I was quite enjoying it. And I took a look. Like, this movie takes place in 2001. The incident happened in May. And this is like, I forgot, like, this is pre 9/11. This is pre, like, where you had news media were literally like flying on top of that train, following it. And you're like, oh, there's no way they would do that. But back then they did. This is like the era of really the birth of 24-hour news channels. Like you had CNN from the 80s, but then you had Fox and CNBC and everything else. And this is also a few years just after the OJ, Bronco and the helicopter. Like, so media were everywhere. So that was a pre-realistic. What I got to say though is that if I didn't know that Tony Scott directed this movie, John, and this is not a slight, but you could have convinced me this is done by Michael Bay. Like, the color palettes looked the way that some of like the action was shot, like with the trains coming at you, and then all of a sudden you have this like zoom camera going the opposite way of the train, right? Overhead. I was like, oh, this is very Michael Bay-ish. And I was like trying to think like what movies had been out that Bay had directed, but it felt like Tony Scott was doing a Michael Bay, maybe an homage to some of his movies. But
he has been kind of compared, like Tony Scott has been kind of compared to the Michael Bay of, I guess, that era. If you went back to when Tony Scott was like big, right?
Yeah. But even like the color tones, like like the kind of the muted gray, and then like the really kind of like that hot yellow orangish kind of hue that they were using for certain scenes as well. It was like very reminiscent of Michael Bay stuff. So, but all that to be said, like, I really enjoyed it, and Christopher Nolan was right. This does have like moments of tense, and like you said, you're watching it going, oh my God, I feel like I'm watching the news, because you're like, oh shit, these guys, this is crazy, right? So
Yeah.
and I
I
also
don't
think
remember
that
what the length. Do you remember what the length of the movie is? Is it 90 minutes only or something like that? I think it's pretty tight.
it's an hour and 45 or something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I do think like I kind of forgot again. I forgot about this movie. I fired it up in the middle of last week or whatever it was, or the end of the
Yeah.
week. And we've just come off of that train derailment in the US within the last week with like the chemicals and stuff. And I was like, oh, bad timing. But it adds a certain sense of like realism to this movie, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's jump a little bit. You guys let us know your thoughts on Unstoppable. If you rewatched it with us, or if you remember it from when it first released. I didn't check it out in theaters because I wasn't really going to theaters. I think at the time that this dropped, and I discovered it late. I think it had kind of come and gone, and then I watched it on video, and I was like, wow, this is really good. Like, and I'm a big Denzel fan, so I'm surprised that I missed it on the first time around. But let's talk a little bit about the cast since we're bringing up Denzel. We got Denzel Washington, we got Chris Pine, we got Rosario Dawson, we've got T.J.
Miller.
Which actually I think his part was actually not bad in this one. I actually despite whatever is going on with him right now, I thought he was actually pretty good in this. Sometimes I find him really annoying in things that he's in. And I don't know who played the guy in the truck. That guy was awesome. Ned or whatever. He comes and like, saves the day at the end. That guy's like the unsung hero. But how do you feel about Pine and Denzel? And then you add Dawson to the mix, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy to see a very young Chris Pine, right? I mean, this movie is, like I said, it's 13 years ago. Pelham 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I thought it was great. I thought they did a really good. They worked well off each other. I thought they had good chemistry.
Yeah.
And I think it's always difficult for so like Rosario Dawson and all the group that were in the central hub, right?
Yeah.
They're having to react to events and to people that they're not seeing it. They're just acting in a sound stage, and they're having conversations with these actors that aren't there. I always think it's really tough. Like when you are part of an ensemble movie, but you are separated from the rest of the team. And I think that's really tough. So I thought they did a very, very good job of selling that movie. Yeah.
I didn't even occur to me, but it did have a similar feel to one of his other movies, Enemy of State, which I do love with Will Smith and Gene Hackman, where it's kind of like there's people in a room like kind of trying to control things, but everyone just did a really good job. And the back and forth, you would never think that they like she's not playing off the other guy from the big corporate office and whatever like that. Chris Pine, relatively new to this. I think he was in Star Trek. And then kind of this came along.
A few things,
and then he kind of exploded after this into like this one of Hollywood's top dogs, I think. So I think him and Denzel, I think, play off really well. The whole thing at the beginning, they're not really driving and getting together. And then even though they had very short time together, you feel when they kind of start to click together. And then they start working together. I love it when Denzel Washington is like busting his chops for just random stuff. He's like busy on the phone. Like, what a day for that guy. All the stuff that he's going through and on top of all this. But I thought the way they laid it all out was played really well.
Hey, I just want to clarify. So Gord said he's pretty sure Desert Storm was at birth at 24 News Hour Channel, which he's right. Yes, Desert Storm back in 1991 definitely was. I was just referring to the fact that at this time, then you had Fox, you had NBC, you had HLN Network, and then you had you had a lot of these. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Excitement. You would see, these helicopters and reporters were everywhere, and just, I can't remember. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but they were constantly just bombarding you with these sensational stories that were happening. Right. So that's kind of what I meant back in 2001. Anyways.
Yeah, in that whole element, I think Tony Scott used every time I've heard about this movie, he used real reporters as much as he could. So it seemed pretty authentic, and the idea of the reporters being able to fill in these random, exposition dumps or whatever you want to call it was pretty handy.
Yeah, it was,
so,
right? Yeah.
So overall, like, we love this cast. What do we? I don't think we're throwing this movie in the fire, right, Rob? So we don't have to save anything from the fire. But maybe we have a favorite scene. Do you have a scene that pops out in your mind that you really like to watch? I really like the first portion where they attach to the other train and they couple together, and then all this grain comes flying out, and Chris Pine, you see him like just eating all this chunks of stuff, and then you see his foot get crushed, which looked brutal. And Denzel has like the best line for it. They're like, how is he? And Denzel's just like, he's different. I'm like, who came up with that? Was that an ad lib? Was that written? Like, that's totally a Denzel thing to say. It's like, you couldn't just say, he hurt his foot. You had to say, he's different. But yeah, do you have a favorite scene? Is it
no, I really like that because he did injure his foot. It was really funny because he gets back into the cab, and Denzel throws him a duct tape to tape up his foot. And I was like, I've seen this just recently. And I was like, oh yeah, like the episode before last night's Last of Us. Joel taped up his boot. And I was like, what's with people taping up their boots with duct tape? So it was just made me laugh. But yeah, that scene was really, really cool. And honestly, the scene where Ned gets Chris Pine to jump off of the train into the back of the truck, and he's trying to time it, right? And he's like, he's telling him not to be a wussy, but he was using the P word. And he goes, just do it, jump in. And I'm like, he's traveling at like 70 miles an hour, and you got to
and he doesn't know who this guy is. This guy's just in a red truck, just pulling up. And I forgot who had to ask him, Denzel or Chris Pine. It's like, is that for us? Is that part of us, or is that just some psycho driving down the street to keep up?
The thing is, you can understand, like, it's also physics. Like, you're jumping off a train at the same speed that it's going. You have to be able to match jumping into a truck. Like, it's not as easy as you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to jump. And then
this is not Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, definitely not Fast and the Furious. Because he would have jumped and he would have held onto the railing, and then he would have slid around the top of the car onto the windshield. Yeah. And then to hop onto the front of the train, like, and then you hear like the news guys, to your point, with the exposition going, oh, they're running out of track, they're running out of road. And you're like, just go. And you see the guys telling you, just drive it, go. Like, and you're just right there with them, right?
Yeah,
so
you don't have the infinite runway like in Fast and the Furious. So it's like
running
out of space. They did a really good job of selling that. I was saying, you know what, the best solution for this runaway train would have been? Pop Michelle Yeoh onto a dirt bike, and she could just hop onto the train and problem solved.
There you go.
That was the only solution I could come up with.
What was more tense, this train running out of track or Back to the Future Part 3?
I don't remember 3. I haven't watched 3 in a long time, but I know they attach the time machine to a railroad track, right? And it becomes a locomotive time machine, right?
Right, yeah. But they have they're running out of track. It hasn't been finished, and that thing's got to get up to 88 miles per hour, and they're having a tough time. It's a lot of coal. Anyways, all right.
So a lot of great scenes. If we missed one, folks, that definitely chime in with that. Let's jump quickly to is this Tony Scott's best movie then, Rob, in your opinion? Or is it one of it could be in my top 3, maybe, but he's done a lot, even with just him and Denzel. He's done a bunch with him and Denzel.
Yeah, I don't know if this is his best. It's definitely not his best movie, but that's not taken away from this movie. This movie is really good. Yeah. It's just shitty that he died like a year and a half after this movie was released, right? Because goodness knows what we would have gotten afterwards, right? So
I like how tight this movie. This movie feels like nothing's wasted. There's no extra things in it that's not really necessary, I think, and they managed to squeeze stories in for everybody and kind of make you care about all the characters. So yeah, I don't know if I would consider it his best. I don't think it would be number 1 in my list. I think that's reserved for Man on Fire probably, and maybe Top Gun. I don't know. And then he's got more Denzel movies. Like right after this movie finished, Rob, next on the thing came Deja Vu, which was also Denzel and Tony Scott, which has got a sci-fi slant to it, which I do remember quite enjoying, although I haven't seen it in a long time. You guys let us know if this would be your top Tony Scott movie or not. Do you have something that trumps it then, Rob? Did you have an example of something that you thought was better than this? Or not better, that you would choose over this, I guess?
But it's so tough because actually this is a really enjoyable movie, right? Like this is the thing I like about some of these movies. We talked about this when we were doing our 80s and 90s action recaps.
Yeah.
The brackets is that you didn't rely or have to rely on what we have in Ant-Man 3 with like tons of special effects to drive the story. The story was what drove it, no pun intended. And the effects were practical, and it was thrilling. And so, I can't think of any other of his movies. Like obviously, Top Gun is really. I think this is one of his most accessible movies. Accessible movies, though, meaning that I think Top Gun. I think that it hits for a certain type of crowd. I think this one anybody could easily sit and watch it, especially knowing that it's kind of based on real events.
Yeah,
I think that also draws a lot more people in.
So you're having a party with a bunch of people you kind of know, maybe coworkers, friends of friends with their significant others. You can pop on Unstoppable easily, and everyone's glued to their couch everyone's glued to the screen for 90.
Well, because I think minutes. if you're like, oh, you're gonna throw on 20 Scott film, you Top Gun, okay, listen, it's fighter jets and Tom Cruise, like right off the bat, what it is.
Yeah.
But when you're watching something like this, you don't have any preconceived notion. All you know is based on a true story and it's about a runaway train. Like, all right, cool. And if you can get that Soul Asylum song out of your head and get in...
now it's in my head. That's in my head. It's
good.
A good song. It's a good song, right? It's not a bad song.
All right.
Sarah...
Runaway Train, the song was featured in the movie Clerks, John, directed by Kevin Smith. And in Clerks 2, featured an actor by the name of Ethan Suplee, who happened to be in this movie, John. He was the guy who screwed up and started this whole
whatever. This guy screwed up and he's going to be held accountable.
Yeah, he had that photo. But now Ethan Suplee, obviously back in the day, was known for his large frame. Is now like this crazy bodybuilder.
He's like a tank. Yeah, he's like super muscular, like big guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm checking out. Have you heard of this movie that Sarah keeps mentioning, The Gray?
Yes, that is with Alec Baldwin and what's his face?
Liam Neeson?
No.
Is that a different movie? I'm looking at the wrong movie here.
Oh wait, which movie are you looking at? Maybe
I was looking at The Gray. Is it The Gray?
Okay, so maybe I'm thinking of the wrong one.
Gray. I see a Gray here, Sarah, with Liam Neeson. I don't know if this is off topic or this is not a Tony Scott movie. Maybe I'm looking at something else. Is there?
Oh yeah, movie? You might be right. The Gray, with Liam Neeson. I was thinking, what the hell was I thinking of then? Now I gotta figure out Alec Baldwin movie.
The Edge.
The Edge with a
bear.
Anthony Hopkins.
That's a bear in it.
What?
Do they fight a bear? I think they fight a bear.
Yeah.
In it, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. But The Gray, yes, with Liam Neeson. I don't remember if I saw that or not. I think I have. I don't know. We've seen so many shit, John. I don't remember half of the stuff we've seen.
I don't understand the attachment to this thread, though.
Well, good point. By Joe Carnahan has nothing to do with.
Oh my god. I don't know what's going on. All right, Sarah, let us know. Maybe it's not. Okay, she thought it was a Tony Scott movie. So shout outs to that. Yeah, but I definitely put Man on Fire above this movie just because I just really love that movie. So we're gonna have to revisit that.
Well, and we will. So sometime in March, we are going to be watching Man on Fire. I haven't seen it since it first came out. I wasn't really. I was lukewarm on the movie, so we're going to go back and we're going to be doing a Denzel face-off, John. Yeah. Of Man on Fire versus The Equalizer. Face Off.
Face Off, which is going to be interesting because I love Antoine Fuqua. I love Denzel Washington, but for some reason, the first watch of Equalizer, I wasn't super huge fan of it. So I will definitely give that another try. Rob, can I ask this question?
For a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So Unstoppable, very similar in theme to Speed.
I knew you were going to do this.
Right? But it's not. If someone talks about great action movies, you had Unstoppable and Speed on a scale, right. Speed is gonna win this fight no matter what you do. Can you pinpoint exactly why? Maybe is it because of Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock chemistry? Maybe Or because it was the birth of this style of movie, maybe because it was the originator, and Unstoppable is so late in the game now.
Well, first of all, thank you for not choosing Under Siege 2 Dark Territory.
We're not doing train-related movies.
I think so. Fraser earlier in the comments said he didn't know if he would classify this as an action movie. It was more of a drama. But I think that ties into your question because I think Speed is looked as an action movie because okay, yes, the bus can't drop below 55 miles an hour, but you have Sandra Bullock in as at the beginning really of her career, totally transfixed as Annie, and then you have Keanu Reeves who's the cop.
Yeah,
right,
and then you cop. So he's already kind of like
cop,
a built-in hero.
And they're trying to defuse the bombs, and you have help me out, John. What the guy? What's his name?
His name's Harry in the movie.
Jeff Daniels, but no, the bad guy.
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper. Man, I'm getting old. I'm starting to forget people's names. I hope it's not.
Who we just saw. We just saw Dennis Hopper in True Romance.
I know. So my brain, I don't know. I gotta stop doing shrooms. And then you got Dennis Hopper, who's crazy, villain. So I think that if people are like, oh, you gotta watch, it's like this mode of transportation is going like super fast, and they gotta stop it. People are gonna say, I'll take Speed. I don't think people are gonna think of Unstoppable.
Yeah. And even though I think I would argue that Unstoppable is a tighter movie, that's like more kind of like this is everything's tied together. There's no like Speed. Once they get off the bus, you have this awkward thing where they're now on a subway, and it's kind of like it's a little bit weird, right? And then even the beginning, they have the whole elevator sequence, which is great, but everything in the movie doesn't flow as well as Unstoppable. But I think every time Speed's going to win this fight. Steve says Speed is a non-stop thrill ride. It has some moments where it stops, but
could you imagine what Speed would have been in the hands of a Tony Scott?
Yeah, I don't even remember who is the director of Speed. A big
Deanne DeBont. It was his first movie.
Yeah, but he is not Tony Scott is action movie royalty, right? When you think of his name. Lewis asked, should we watch Enemy of State? We 100% should. I actually quite enjoyed it. I've seen that movie more times than I probably should have, is the phrase that kind of goes with that movie.
I've only seen once, maybe twice.
It's really good for just something about it. But anyways, especially now with the whole conspiracy of everything you do is being tracked. If they remade that nowadays, I think they could easily sell it.
So, John, I have a question for you as a tech guy, because I know we're winding down here, but were you completely enamored with the flip phones?
I thought they were good. I'm watching.
I hope they have Snake on them because I want to hit my.
Imagine I was like, why doesn't he take a picture of something? I'm like, oh man, the pictures on these flip phones was atrocious back then.
Right.
It looks like you're taking a picture of the inside of your pocket. It's so fuzzy.
Right. The resolution on the screen, when he would flip it open, he would see his wife's picture. I was like, wow, that resolution was not that crystal clear on those phones back in 2001. Thank you, but no.
Yeah. I'm kind of rewatching Breaking Bad, and he's got the flip phones, and it's just really funny to see these old Motorola, whatever they were, Razors or whatever the hell they were. Not quite the Razor. It's the generation before that where they were really big and bulky.
Yeah, those Nokia ones. Those with the massive batteries on the back.
Yeah. Oh man, jokes. All right. So thank you, everybody. Unstoppable. If you guys have any other thoughts of it, let us know quickly now, and we're gonna move on from Unstoppable, which we think we do recommend. Rob, would you own this, or would you just watch it on streaming if it pops up?
Yeah, so I wouldn't go out and purchase this movie. I wouldn't get it from iTunes, but it's on Disney Plus. I'm happy with it being there, and I'll probably watch it again at some point. It's something I would show my son, like, hey, you just want a really cool, 90-minute, an hour and 40-minute movie.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool just to check it out, right? I would throw this on for sure.
Yeah. I think it loses a little bit once you know exactly what's going to happen. The outcome, so you got to wait a long enough time that you kind of forget all the beats. You obviously know that they save the day at the end, but if you forget all the kind of stuff in between, then you're gonna really enjoy it. But I do really like Denzel Washington and almost everything, but his interaction with Chris Pine and then Rosario Dawson, kind of on the phone, the person on the phone, dealing with them. So much so that when you see her pop up at the end, you're like, oh, everyone's in person, like in the same room. It's pretty cool to see. So rest in peace, Tony Scott. It would have been really interesting to see what would have come after this. And there's a whole bunch of movies, like even if you're just saying Tony Scott, Denzel, Gordon mentioned it, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Deja Vu, Man on Fire, Unstoppable. I don't know if he did any other Denzel Washington movies. Like, did he do Virtuosity or something crazy like that?
No, he never did Virtuosity.
I used to like Virtuosity a lot. But anyways, Rob, let's talk about where we're going next week. It's a special day, first Monday of the month. Next week, what are we doing?
That is Mission Monday. So if you are not familiar with what we're talking about, it is the first Monday of every month. We are going back and checking out one of the Mission Impossible movies on our road to July's release of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So this Monday, it is I don't know, what day is it, John? Monday the 4th or something? What day is it?
Let me look it up. 6th.
The 6th. Monday, the March 6th, we will be doing Mission Impossible 3, which I feel is the movie that really kickstarted the franchise after 1 and 2. It changed its focus and gear. I know there's some people who don't really like number 3, but I think if you watch number 3, if it's been a while, and then you look at the ones that have come since, you'll see where the threat is. You're like, oh, I understand now what J.J. Abrams did. So directed by J.J. Abrams, with arguably one of the best actors of our generation, Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain. Can Tom Cruise just beat Philip Seymour Hoffman? We'll see. But that's next Monday, Mission Impossible 3. If you don't own it, why not? If you don't, you're looking for a place to stream it. It is on Paramount Plus in Canada.
Yeah, Paramount Plus in Canada. You can sign up for 1 month, or you can get the trial. You get the trial. You get, I think, 7 days to watch whatever you want.
I'm excited to watch this again. I really like Mission Impossible 3. So
yeah, I think I do really like this one, and I think you're right. I think it is the turning point. You'll probably see a bunch of articles or YouTube videos that say Mission Impossible 3 is the turning point of the series, especially us having just rewatched 1 and 2. And I think I'll admit that they aren't super stellar. I thought Mission Impossible was going to beat Bond, hands down, if we did some type of showdown. But I think there's things that you could present that would defeat some of these early Mission Impossible movies for me. So 3, and I think it's got a whole cast of people in it that can be fun to see. So join us for that. Let me see if there's anything else here. Gord, god damn it. What you do on your own time, go for it. But yeah, we're gonna watch Mission Impossible.
Hey, if you happen to have a link for a private YouTube channel, don't hesitate to share it with your buddy. Gord, what's your OnlyFans account?
Oh my god! All right. Anyway, we usually have to get Michelle into the mix where it really starts to turn for the after hours party. All right,
Steve, you don't have to worry about not having Netflix. Again, it is on Paramount Plus in Canada, or you can, again, there's places that you can grab it, iTunes or whatever. But I'm surprised that most people wouldn't have this movie. Like, I have like all of them in digital and physical. I know that you do as well, John. I mean, I think it's.
I might not have 3 actually. What? I might not have 1 and 3, because I feel like I didn't appreciate 3 at the time. I was probably one of those people who was like, I don't like this back then. And then I rewatched it. It was either on Netflix or Prime or something at some point. And it was, for some reason, when they only put 1 movie, they don't put all the movies from the thing. And they're just like, Mission Impossible 3 is available. And I was like, oh, let me watch this. And I watched it and I was like, I thought this was pretty good.
Yeah.
So people were, I do remember people hating on it. So looking forward to, yeah. So Fraser's got it. He's got up to 4. I don't know what he's going to do when he gets to 5 and up.
Hey, Lewis, stop feeding into Gord's joke. Okay. Thank you. Going south. We don't need any more innuendo comments. Dirty bird.
Yeah. All right. So thank you again, Mr. Rob. Thank you, everybody in the comments. It's always a blast. You guys make this such a fun time for us to just chit chat and hang out. So look forward to seeing you guys next week for Mission Mondays, Mission Impossible 3, and then we'll try to get the next couple movies announced so you guys have a little more extra time to watch them. or if we're gonna just do just chit chat or get back to that 90s bracket, which Lewis suggested. So thank you, everybody. We will check you guys out next week.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Peace out.
Bye, John.
Bye.